I'd like to call this council meeting to order. Please join me for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just feel like it's just a play ball.
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Roll call for the council meeting on 7/12. Mayor Lindsay,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Here.
Councilman Humbert. Here. Councilman Weeks,
Here.
Councilman Crane. Councilman Crane is marked absent. You have a quorum, you may proceed.
Okay. At this time, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd ask for a motion for the approval of the consent agenda, which consists of the June 25th, 2024 minutes.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda for June 25th, 2024 minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'd ask anybody that would like to address the council. Comments not pertaining to any items that are on this agenda. Mrs. Boyd.
I was told last year that in order to put up a sign on the same signpost with the speeding signs, like please slow down, or something a little more creative, that I had to get the approval of the council before I could do that. And so I just wanted to see if I could get the approval to put up.
So I don't know that, I'd actually ask Chief Hildreth to address that, because I'm not sure who you spoke to last year.
The council.
Okay, but if you don't mind, I'll have Chief Hildreth address the question as best he can.
Thank you, Mayor, Council Manager, constituents. Where would these be going up? Are they on
San
municipal?
Mateo.
San Mateo, so nothing on State Highway 434 or 64 or anything. I think it's reasonable that I could do an assessment and see what signage is there. I know sometimes too much is too much and people don't read, but for what you're asking for, children at play or slow, washboard road, things like that, I think are informative and would probably be a reasonable idea. Coordinated with Kurt behind me, of course.
No, the speed limit signs for 15 miles an hour are up there, and that's laughable.
Yeah.
And
Well,
somebody's gonna get hurt.
I believe you that, yeah, there's speeding, the dirt roads, the dust, and the washboards.
Well,
the
where
dangerous
San Mateo
hazards.
is paved,
So, well, there's others, but yes,
but I'm
You're right.
only concerned
you're right,
about.
you're
mine.
concerned about that area, so. Yeah, I think it's very reasonable to could do an assessment and make a recommendation to the manager. I do think it would need to go through council for approval
Right,
for the addition of a sign, but if you'll allow me to do the legwork, I'd be happy to.
well, I had, please slow down, and I had them zip tied to the post underneath the 15 miles an hour. And that's all I was gonna do. I will put more creative ones up in my own property. But that was all we wanted to do, and all 10
I think,
of the owners of the townhouses would like to be able.
I think we
to
can
have that done.
do something a little more permanent than a zip tie to help with that. Let me do an assessment. I did find out what the area actually looks
I
like.
could ask you to speak up a little bit, just so.
Oh, okay.
Get in
Yeah.
on the recording.
Yeah, I'll get over there, do an assessment on the area, report to the manager, and then, make a decision to bring it back for formal approval, if that's the wish of the council.
Because truly, the speeding is out of control.
Well, and 15 miles an hour is actually a very slow.
Yeah.
Speed limit, so.
Yeah.
It's easy to
Okay.
exceed that.
Okay.
I've noticed in a lot of resort towns that
people put out signs that are about this tall and they're made to look like a child running across the road and will say, please slow down.
Mhm.
Is that kind of what you're talking about? Is
Sort of. We have had those out in years past. But this is verbal or written, please slow down, and they're bright yellow. In fact, one of my neighbors up at the end of the townhouses has some out
Mhm.
on his property. So that's what I was talking about. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No one else? We'll move on to announcements and proclamations by the council. Anybody have anything? I just would like to congratulate Craig Ralph, Chief Hogreave, the fire department, Chief Brittenell, Kurt, all the staff for a wonderful 4th of July week is what it always turns into. So, again, I thought it was just wonderful to see all the activity. The weather cooperated beautifully, much more so than our drones, but that was outside of the control of anyone here. And they promised, of course, they're gonna make it up to us in the future, but I just thought it was a phenomenal, show of teamwork all the way along and look forward to just building from there, so.
Well, if I could add to that, Mayor, I sat over here in, by the plaza and the traffic midday on the 4th and 5th was way beyond any time in the past 20 years I've been here.
All right, we'll move on to staff reports. I know Chief Brittenell is unable to attend today. So we'll move on to our police chief, Jerry Hogan.
Mr. Mayor, and before Chief Ogre continues, I would like to say, remind our constituents that Chief Brittenell was a interim fire chief. That's how he was originally hired. He basically helped us through a period of transition in the fire chief. We have hired a new fire chief that will be starting on July 29th. So I just wanted to make sure again that it was part of an official meeting and notification that we will have a new fire chief at the end of the month.
Mayor, council, manager, constituents, I trust everybody got this in their packet. It's just the monthly stats for the month of June 2024 for the police department. If you don't, I'll be happy to make copies afterwards and distribute them individually. My apologies.
Right here.
My apologies, it's a little bit crude. It doesn't have fancy graphs and charts, but going forward, it will look better. And what I intend to report next month will include these stats with a graph chart showing the increase or decrease of activity for the police department. But just to go over briefly, calls for service, there were 88 calls for service for the month of June through the Red River Dispatch. We handled 32 calls through the Angel Fire Police Department business line. Of those, there were 5 offense or incident reports generated. An offense or incident report, as you know, is an actual crime or investigation that occurs from a call. There were 2 warrants generated, 2 arrests made, 3 crash reports, which the crash reports are also generated through a call for service. Total traffic citations issued were 33 with 5 parking citations. And then under other, I mentioned that June, I came in mid-month. It was kind of still a settling in period, kind of still is now a little bit, at least for me. We've worked through most of the IT issues, got those resolved. They're still a pending matter. Compliments to Manager Weir for helping me through some of that. And then, as was briefly mentioned earlier, when I walked into that work session, I'm working with Red River Dispatch for the radio issues that we're experiencing right now, fire, EMS, and police are all forced to be on one frequency or one channel. We're having to share that. It is burdensome. The fire frequency, while it does work, is very scratchy and the tone is very low on that. So I've recommended that a technician be sent to the mountaintop here because reasonably, we all agree it's probably an issue up where the tower is on the resort. If it is something on the tower, i.e. the antenna or the antenna positioning, the coax or the grounding, it will be the village's responsibility to pay to have those fixed. If it is an equipment related issue, which would be a repeater, duplexer, or whatever, that is the responsibility of Red River to fix that. We don't know which it is, and that's why I've recommended a technician be sent up there to diagnose the problem, report to us what it is, and then if it's our responsibility, I'll get with the manager and we'll get it corrected. If it's theirs, I'll stay in contact and hopefully they'll get that taken care of. Or if it's a combination of both, we may share some cost or expense to have that fixed. And that's my report. I'll stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to Public Works Director Hepler.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Clerk Rowe, Manager Weir. Update for Public Works, starting with streets, continuing to work areas identified as needing immediate attention, doing some placement of base course, some regrading of roads, and definitely challenging with the moisture levels we've had or lack thereof in some areas. Some areas, even though have had significant maintenance within the last couple of weeks, are washboarding up real quick. We're seeing obviously there was an increase of traffic over the holiday, and we also are experiencing excessive speeds being driven on some of the roads. They're having a negative effect on them. We have published the request for proposal for contract services to spread base course on our larger projects that were identified earlier. There will be a pre-bid meeting on Monday that all contractors are invited to. And we will, with the process of the RFP, if all goes well, we would look at being able to start the work the second week of August. Water department repairs on leaks and installation of water meters continue. As always, we have some continuing challenges. We did have a significant water leak a couple of days ago. And put a good number of people out of water for a while. The crew was able to find the leak, get it repaired within a few hours and restore service. It was a condition of a undersized, antiquated line, improperly installed, sitting on a rock that just decided to blow at 2 o'clock in the morning. Resulting from this, all of this was off of homes that are served off of tank number 4. The pumps at tank number 4 that then boosts the water up to the Aspens tanks were running on empty and subsequently burned a pump out. We have enough water in the Aspens tanks to, by our calculations, to last another 6 days. We will have the replacement pumps in Monday, we're told between 1 and 3 o'clock. We have sent out a notice to the public in the area that would be affected if the Aspens tanks did go out to conserve water. Mainly no excessive uses of water, just standard use is fine. But no filling hot tubs, irrigating, or any other substantial water use. We're confident that we'll have those pumps in and nobody should experience any water loss. The SCADA system that we have did send us an alert that tank 4 was at a low level. but proper action on our end wasn't taken. And we'll be meeting with staff. This system is kind of new to us, our actual procedures when we do get the alert. Unfortunately, the alert that we got just stated that the tank was lower than it should be. It did not give us an indication of how fast the tank was emptying. Okay, and of course, it was worst case scenario happening at 3 o'clock in the morning. Moving forward, we'll have better procedures in place to one, make sure that our parameters are set right, where we can get an alert that it is an emergency situation. But also make sure we react properly, but the SCADA system did work. We just didn't utilize it properly on our end. Okay. That's essentially all I have to report right now, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Manager,
Yes, sir.
even though he's not on the agenda, I would like our Director of Tourism to give a quick update to the council.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Council. We are launching a communications plan for the village that'll be coming out of the tourism office. I'll be generating a newsletter that will go in utility bills. We'll be expanding that content out into social media posts and then podcasts that we will be hosting and keeping on our website so people can access the information we're talking about. The goal of the newsletter that we're calling the Village Voice is a monthly newsletter published by the Village of Angel Fire. Our goal is to inform the residents of the Village of Angel Fire about village projects, events, village department roles and responsibilities, future plans and success stories. We are very excited to share with you information about our improvements planned for our village that you are starting to see around our community. I'll be directing comments or any responses from the newsletter back to myself. I'll be trying to act as a clearinghouse to answer further questions and direct and get further information from other department heads that need to go out to the public. But it's a role I sort of look forward to, and I think it will help the village a lot in communicating with our residents about the things we have going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, is this a time I can ask on status of a new building for the tourism department?
So I will let you know that negotiations are currently in place. And we should have something for council to consider at the next council meeting.
Yes.
There's no other committee reports. I don't know, without Mr. Crane here, we've got the Rickettsons, we've got, they sit on a couple of committees. Do you have anything to offer today?
I mean, I can share what we did in our last meeting.
I'd love to hear it.
It may be. Councilman Crane may have already shared these with me, but.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so at our last meeting,
And I'm sorry, this is for workforce housing.
workforce housing, yeah, sorry. So at our last meeting, the gentleman who owns the property out by the blinking light came and discussed a proposed housing development that he's considering, which would include some workforce housing units along with just some other commercial type townhouses, et cetera. That needs to go back to the P and Z committee, so I don't really know how solid it is, but it was a opportunity to hear what he was thinking. And then we also are in the process of testing our employer survey for housing survey, and the discussion of the results of that test is gonna happen at our next meeting, which is Wednesday, the 17th. And then once if we feel like we're satisfied with that, then we'll move forward with working with Brett and or whoever else in the village to get that employer survey out to the people who have business licenses, up-to-date business licenses, in the community.
We're also working on the draft governance for workforce housing eligibility. And as soon as the committee thinks that it's kind of ready for the council to review, we'll have Councilman Crane bring that to you guys to review for any additional feedback to add to that. And that's really saying who can apply for workforce housing, who the workforce housing is intended to, who can't, what things that you can and cannot do, like rent it out for your family members, stuff like that. So that's basically where we're at.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I would like to add one thing. I'm not sure if Mr. Consent is aware of this, but on on Thursday of this week, the county passed its workforce housing ordinance, which is a requirement in order for a municipality to have a workforce housing ordinance. So we passed that. It's now being codified. And I've already been working with Counselor Crane to get ours ready. So hopefully, probably maybe not the next meeting, but probably the one after that. We'll ask to request the process of establishing our own workforce housing ordinance. And basically what that ordinance does is it gives us some leeway in the anti-donation law as far as how the village can participate in the development of workforce housing. As it stands without that ordinance, we basically can't participate in that unless we own the whole thing. With this ordinance, it'll allow us to do a private-public partnership with the developer, in which, if we choose, the village can help fund some of the infrastructure for workforce housing specifically. It can't be for anything except workforce housing that's not owned by the village.
So with that, and then I'll say that our workforce housing committee has also reviewed the New Mexico MFA template that they provide for the ordinance, and I compared it to what Espanola has in place, which, you know, we're vastly different than Espanola. But Espanola basically just did their template word for word. So there's not like, it's not like we have to start from scratch. It's just, you take it in, you fill in the Village of Angel Fire, you make sure that you agree, and maybe there was very little wording, there's kind of insignificant wording differences between what Espanola has in place and what the template provides.
Mr. Rickerson, my recommendation is to pull the counties that was just approved
Okay,
and follow it, because you don't want to deviate from
sure.
it, and it's already gone through legal counsel and
So that was plan and ordinance both? The workforce housing plan and ordinance,
it's, yes.
okay. Okay, we can do that. Okay. Well, that's it.
Thank you. Moving on, we currently don't have any old business, so we'll move on to new business. I would ask for a motion on item A, discussion action, approve resolution 2024-43, adopting the ICIP.
I'll make a motion for discussion action to approve resolution 2024-43, adopting the ICIP.
I'll second.
Discussion. Julie.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is the ICIP plan that we have gone over and discussed. So one is water line replacement and fire hydrant installation. Number 2 is tanks 2 and 4, coating and repairs. Number 3 is transfer station renovations. Number 4 is fire station 1. Number 5 is a new enclosed solid waste drop-off dumpster building. 6 is streets and drainage improvements. 7 right now, sports complex for Allen Fields. 8 is the emergency radio communications tower. 9 is Bill Burgess paving and sidewalks, and 10 is country club paving project. Those are the ones that you have selected and then will be submitted to the state.
Roll call vote on item A, Mr. Howe,
Aye.
Mr. Humbert,
Aye.
Mr. Weeks.
Aye.
Pass.
Thank you, Council and Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to item B. I'd like to get a motion for discussion action. Approval of resolution 2024-44. Budget bill.
Make a motion for discussion action, approve resolution 2024-44. Budget action request.
Second.
Andrew Weir.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is just, something that we needed to turn into DFA for our, year-end quarter ending June 30th. As you know, it is an audit funding if you turn in any fund with a negative balance. This was a bar that was needed to assure that we didn't have a negative balance in a fund. Just need your approval, so we can submit it as part of our quarterly reports, which will be prepared next week.
Any further discussion?
Roll call vote on item B, Mr. Humbert,
Aye.
Mr. Weeks,
Aye.
Mr. Howe,
Aye.
pass.
So, I'll just preface items C through H.
Right.
These are housekeeping items, from the previous council meeting. From what I understand, there's just some inaccurate information, numbers and schedules that were presented at that time. If you'd like to elaborate.
Okay. During our last council meeting, hello, my name is Dennis Brode, I'm the village clerk. Mr. Mayor, council members. During our last meeting, when versions of these were presented, we came back and found some mistakes. Mr. Epler and I went through them in detail and got the fees exactly right for the CPI that was agreed to in our meetings. Those have been rewritten and they are in your packets now. There's not any rounding or anything like this. It's just the exact number as it came out. Also, you'll find the holiday schedule in there as the first one. That's item C. That has to do with the holiday called Juneteenth. We had put that on a Monday to back up to a weekend. That was the incorrect thing to do. Juneteenth is actually a government holiday. Bank closures and different things happen, so that has to fall on the date of the government holiday, which is the 19th. And you'll see that in the first resolution there. And I will stand for any questions if there are any. Thank you, sir.
Moving on, item C, I'd ask for a motion for discussion, action, and approval of resolution 2024-45, the fiscal year 25 holiday schedule.
I make a motion for discussion action, approve resolution 2024-45 FY 25 holiday schedule.
I'll second.
Clerk Rhodes.
Okay. Vote on item C, Mr. Weeks,
Aye.
Mr. Howe,
Aye.
Mr. Humbert,
Aye.
pass.
Moving on to item D, I'd ask for a motion, discussion, action, approval, resolution 2024-48 water sewer rates.
I make a motion for discussion action, approve resolution 2024-48 water sewer rates.
Second.
Vote on item D, Mr. Howe,
Aye.
Mr. Humbert,
Aye.
Mr. Weeks,
Aye.
pass.
Moving on to item E, I'd ask for a motion for discussion, action, approval, resolution 2024-50, schedule of tap fees for multifamily structures.
I make a motion for discussion action, approve resolution 2024-50, schedule of tap fees for multifamily structures.
I'll second.
Vote on agenda item E, Mr. Humbert,
Aye.
Mr. Weeks,
Aye.
Mr. Howe,
Aye.
pass.
Moving on to item F, ask for a motion for discussion, action, approval, resolution 2024-51 for meter installation charge.
Make a motion for discussion action, approve resolution 2024-51 meter installation charge.
I'll second.
We'll vote on agenda item F, Mr. Weeks,
Aye.
Mr. Humbert. Mr. Humbert,
Aye.
Mr. Howe,
Aye.
pass.
You know, item G, discussion action, I'd ask for a motion to approve resolution 2024-52 solid waste trash service rate.
Make a motion for discussion action, approve resolution 2024-52 solid waste trash service rates.
I'll second.
And vote on agenda item G, Mr. Howe,
Aye.
Mr. Humbert,
Aye.
Mr. Weeks,
Aye.
pass.
And item H, I ask for a motion, discussion action to resolution 2024-53 solid waste transfer rate.
Make a motion for discussion action, approve resolution 2024-53 solid waste transfer rate.
I'll second.
To vote on agenda item H, Mr. Humbert,
Aye.
Mr. Weeks,
Aye.
Mr. Howe,
Aye.
pass.
Thank you. Moving on now to item I. Ask for a motion for discussion action. Request to execute the AIM subaward contract.
I'll make a motion for discussion action, request to execute the AIM sub-award contract.
I'll second.
Mayor Lindsay, Mayor Pro Tem Howe, Councilman and Manager Ware. What you have in front of you is a summary of a grant that was, that we actually got an award for 74,000 and some change. And, today I'm asking for approval for us to continue on and move on with this project. The bulk of this project really is just hiring an ambassador coordinator to be able to communicate and educate the residents of Angel Fire on the thinning process that we're setting forth. So any questions on that?
The only question I have is that with this grant, I mean, the potential to reapply for this every year is good.
Yeah, I believe it is. This is, offered by the COCO Coalition and Collaboration. Yeah, I think it'll be an ongoing thing. It's become such a, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I think it'll be an ongoing thing because this has become such a hot topic, especially in New Mexico with the recent fires.
And is this a person with a capability of actually going to someone's residence and providing advice or?
Yes, it is. Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Howe, we intend on hiring a qualified forester in this position.
And they'll not only patrol, but certify as well.
The
or-
scope of work is yet to be strictly executive determined, and I think we'll rely on that individual to help craft that scope.
So, Mr. Mayor, Councilman, the intent of this position isn't so much patrol. I'm not saying that they won't do that. It's really to inform and to educate the public. So it'd be somebody that'd be able to come out to your lot and say, look, if you want to be firewise, here's what you're gonna have to cut down. And here's why you want to do it, and here's what's gonna happen if you don't do it. So it's more of an educational position for the public. It's not so much like a code enforcement position or anything like that.
But like if you did do as they recommended, then they can come back and report that property is in compliance.
I think with the intent of this council, eventually, once we get this in place and we get some new regulations passed, I think that will be, we will start marking our intent is with the approval, hopefully of the council. And we discussed this in a previous work session, that the intent is to have some sort of a positive reinforcement for people who are in compliance. So we will start tracking lots that are in compliance and lots that are not. And this person will be heavily involved in that.
And I'll just add that on our trip to Ruidoso prior to their fires, they have this forester, and then he then has a group of people that don't have his qualifications, but that he oversees. That do a lot of the work like that you're discussing.
And that's exactly right, because of the in-kind. And we need to come up with these volunteers that are gonna help with the ambassador get that work done. So far, we pulled the names, addresses, phone numbers and emails of everyone in Angel Fire Angel Fire that currently pays a water bill. We figure those are the people that are actually in homes and living in their homes. And so that will be the initial list that the ambassador will go through and start making contact with those.
So improve properties, but not vacant land.
Yeah, that could be a second part of it. First priority was to look at those that are full-time residents.
Structures.
Or improved structures, yeah.
And I would say this
Necessarily
is
full-time.
public safety, but also for our ISO ratings and so on and so forth. Help homeowners with insurance and those challenges as well.
The match for this will come from,
It's in kind. So the match is not money, it's not monetary.
Okay.
We have to provide additional support to this person for them to do their job.
okay,
Generally, that's done through volunteers. That's what we're anticipating. And yeah, but it is in kind, the match.
Any other questions or discussion? Mr. Ricketson, I think he has a question.
I just have a quick question around this kind of a program and like privacy and for public information. My name is Kevin Ricketson. I'm so particularly around like, say, if I call you guys and say, hey, I'd like a little bit of advice out here on my property, and you guys come out and write a report and you give it to me. And then my insurance company that gets all that report and says, oh, wait, before we're gonna insure you, you have to do all these things, even if some of them are just mild recommendations, that kind of thing. So that's one, is this information public or is it private or is it, who's it shared with? That kind of thing is my kind of questions around those kind of things. I mean, I understand you said, it helps homeowners, if you do all these things, but what if there's a tree that I don't want to cut it down? I know what the danger is, but if there's a fire, I will cut it down.
So without getting into the weeds of it, I think the goal is to provide that prescription. I wouldn't imagine that there would be an investigation of that length on your property, but I can't say that there wouldn't be. But the goal would be to, if you call and ask for that prescription and then follow it, then you get some kind of certification that you do want to share with your insurance company for your rates. I think it would be more of a volunteering that information versus them.
I
putting it out, but I understand your concern and I really couldn't speak to it. And we can bring it
Basically,
up.
about 2 years ago, I got a letter from my insurance company that said, we came out and surveyed this as a result of wildfires and you have to cut all the trees down in your lot before we continue.
Well, that was your insurance company.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And
Right, so again,
once we talked it out and they realized where was going on, that was not an issue anymore, but that's the kind of thing that I want, that's the kind of thing I worry about, so.
I understand. I think that's a more valid concern because we do know that, we've heard that story and have personal experience with that, insurance companies coming out, taking pictures, giving you a prescription.
Right.
We can then, I think, refer them to a qualified forester with this program. But yeah, there'll be some things we need to work through in the program in general.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to reiterate, this is not code enforcement. This is something that would be done upon request, although this person would also be in charge of holding town halls and other types of educational meetings to try and inform the public of what needs to be done. And, but all that said, everything we do, with few exceptions, is public information. Any further questions?
Ready for a vote?
Vote on agenda item I to move forward with the AIM. Mr. Howe,
Aye.
Mr. Humbert, Mr. Weeks,
Aye.
pass.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item J. I'd like to ask for a motion for discussion action, request to move forward with an RFP 2024-020 for advertising services.
I'll make a motion for discussion action, request to move forward RFP 2024-020 020 advertising services.
I'll second.
So I'll just start off by saying the village and Caristo Creative have both agreed to cancel their current advertising contract. In lieu of the fact that we were served with a summons for, by the State Ethics Commission. Questioning the procurement code exemptions. And so until there is clarification in the court system and or the legislature, both parties felt it was best to just cancel the contract and set this out for RFP. So we're currently on hold for any advertising work. Aside from what our tourism director is taken on, which is quite a bit. But yeah, we would like to get this out in front of the public so that we can get this advertising program put back together. As Manager Weir stated in the work session prior to this, or not work session, but the hearing prior to this meeting. We cannot spend our lodgers tax money fast enough. We've made great strides to try to get through it, and our balance only goes up. So it's imperative that we get this out as soon as possible and consider any proposals and get back on track. Any questions? Clerk Rowe?
Vote on agenda item A to move forward with the RFP for advertising. Mr. Humbert. Mr. Weeks.
Aye.
Mr. Howe. Pass.
Okay. Before we move on to item K, I just want to thank Dennis Grove for his service as our clerk for the last few months. He has decided to move on. And we wish him the best and look forward to moving on to item K. Getting a motion for discussion action to approve the appointment of Rocky Lira as village clerk.
I'll make a motion for discussion action, approve the appointment of Rocky Lira as village clerk.
Second.
Mr. Lira?
Yes.
Well, I just wanna point out that Manager Weir and I thought he was doing a phenomenal job with the grants. And as good a job as he's doing with that. We feel like the clerk position is extremely vital to the functioning of the government, and Rocky has proven to be an extremely competent, top-notch employee, and we couldn't think of anyone better suited in the short term. And I hope that this turns into a long-term position. I will say he's done a great job with the grant writing. But I'll also add that unfortunately, a lot of the grants that we were looking to pursue, it's been clearly stated that we do not qualify for because we were late on our audits. Until that's rectified, I will say that our fiscal year 2023 audit has been completed. It has not been accepted by the state yet. Once it is, we'll get to work on 2024 and hopefully be able to start that grant processes again. But a lot of the things we were looking for, it's been determined that we simply won't qualify until that's rectified. So at this time, we felt Rocky's best use of time was as village clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, in addition to that, I'd like to say that I'm real happy to do that, and Dennis has been fantastic in helping me to learn the ropes as I move into that position. And I hope to continue on with the grant writing as well as a part of that job. So the grant writing I hope is not going to fail in any way. I'm gonna keep up with that as well as the clerk duties.
Thank you.
A vote on agenda item K to approve the appointment of Rocky Lira as village clerk. Mr. Howe. Mr. Humbert. Mr. Weeks.
Aye.
Pass.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Brinson,
So, yeah.
can you please approach the podium? I'm gonna teach you to sit in the back.
Thank you. I was just, wondering about the two grants that we applied for the workforce housing. Are those also impacted by the audit?
We haven't heard specifically on that, as far as I know, but that would be, Rocky could answer that. I apologize, what was the question?
So the two grants that you had applied for workforce housing
Oh,
recently that,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, those two grants were, I'm so sorry, apologize. Those two grants we have not heard back from, the grantor as of this time.
Specifically, just to clarify, those grants. I know that, well, if you'd run down the list of the ones that we are disqualified from, I don't have it in front of me, but you should.
Right. Well, there was a couple federal grants, that we were applying for that, required 20% match on our part. And, there's also from the New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration, they have a grant that pays for those matching funds. So as a strategy, we thought we would apply for the matching funds for the 20% ahead of time. And if we receive the approval for those matching funds, we would then apply for the federal grant. In fact, what the DFA has denied us on 2 applications for the matching grant, matching funds. So one of the federal grants that we were going to apply for was a wildlife vehicle crash grant. To enable us to provide some protection from our vehicle crashes from wildlife. But since that was a lower priority, and we didn't get the federal match, I suppose we're not going to apply for that one.
So we're still, the workforce housing, and Rocky has secured other grants, and we certainly hope that the workforce housing is one. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, thank you both. Okay, at this time, I would ask for a motion to move into executive session for NMSA 10-15-18-2. Concerning the Department of Workforce Solutions discrimination investigation.
I'll make a motion to move into executive session for NMSA 10-15-1H-2. Department of Workforce Solutions discrimination investigation.
I'll second.
Vote on that item, Mr. Weeks,
Aye.
Mr. Humbert,
Aye.
Mr. Howe.
Aye.
You are now in executive session.
That was done like, you didn't have to go up to that every single day.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the streets are not with them every morning, occasionally with water. Fuel or, really one light. I tried to ask you if I have a mess, I only have 2 managers. Yeah, running water and streets myself.
No, it's just for my self-interest on that story I wanted to for the newsletter about all the roads and stuff. And it'd be awesome if you do have a meeting, the roads are really, if I can show up and just introduce myself. And donuts. We need to do the. Yeah, so, it'd be that kind of, just a quick introduction and then they're not supposed to maybe swallow someone around for a few minutes and clear a couple dishes. Talk to you later. Getting together projects, all the planning.
I got after these so shy.
Things, there's a report out. Who's the guy that my motivator under Benito?
Yeah, he's a character.
Yeah, he could really.
I just say that just for your time.
He's a star. It's funny.
Yeah, I think that's, now the guys, they come in maybe for seven. That's what they're called. Thing going.
I'd say, sure, next week, that you think, hey, I can do that. Let me know. We'll get going, make sure it happens.
We were just kind of hanging out.
So one guy's gonna be out till the first 3
Yes,
days.
but.
He runs through.
I think the summaries with the.
Okay.
I just like it.
Like to
put them all into.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Rick.
You know, when they were talking. We can. Mention about how much traffic there was.
This Department of Workforce Solutions, that's like, that's
Get ready for them to show up.
Yeah, we know it's saved us. We know it saved us on that weekend. His traffic light that I know.
Yeah.
Is keeping that intersection clear, cars parking there.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah, sure, I just wondered. if
Four
that was-
fifths is a lot.
You know, like, some places have employment offices that you can walk in and look for jobs, and I wonder if there was something like
Thanks for
that.
that intersection didn't get parked out.
Doesn't sound-
And do a little spiel on this resolution, a little.
I would actually hear the people listening to call.
It works, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry, all you can just say is, or didn't happen, it was wrong.
Without those controls.
Way out, you could say anything you want.
So,
That's right.
Because.
No, what's.
Whatever keeps you in the good graces of the people at church, you say whatever you want. Care to throw me under the bus.
Yeah, I stopped.
Oh, yeah, we got through it.
Well,
Like I said, Dennis, it was,
Notice the ones we.
I
all borrowed from. Ray.
actually didn't really know what I was supposed to do in the process, but now we do.
That's the first one.
Yeah, and-
And so next year, all,
Like you're there.
Right.
there was burdens put on you that should have been on me. And the next year, I'll
Yeah, I really think that we will, because I wrote the resolution in such a way where you see the old rate and then the new rate, and now when we rewrite the resolutions, we just move everything to the left.
The thing is, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't know I was supposed to. I was actually.
This village.
Well, me and cars.
There you go.
Just because she's that much better on the computer than I built.
Well, if you're out there digging up water, then Carly needs to be all right.
Yeah. But she's a champ. She helps me out with a lot of stuff.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. That's what I want.
Some stuff, we get it down.
Hey, Greg, you have something for me?
What?
You have something for me, score sheet?
I sent it, I emailed it to you.
Oh, okay.
I can't print.
No, that's cool. I can't get on my email from this one.
Yeah.
And I can't leave this chair. So when they come back, I gotta be here.
Oh, I emailed it to your,
Oh, cool.
but
I'll get it.
the reference was clear.
Yeah, remember, you're being recorded. Oh, one more thing, Greg. The RFP, the one that I have here, is are the dates right? Did I pick the right one? Did I get the right date?
It just kind of.
I put it there in my driveway and my. Yeah. I didn't do the exact date of the song, because I didn't run that.
We put so much gravel down, it's like we put 6 years of gravel. Every year, and, you know, and then we have to, we get it plowed, we have to.
Someone.
Bring it.
Yep. We're good.
That's the right ones?
I moved these to Monday. So based on their approval, I can post the ad. I'll talk to you Monday morning about what I have to put in it.
All right, let's do that on Monday, because it really is pretty simple.
Oh, I can imagine it's real simple. I could probably go to the paper and read an example of it, and plug in the words I need. But I'd rather talk to you on Monday morning.
Generally,
Yeah,
it's
when you put a bunch of.
print the front page
And you start to wash more. But this is the
in the
thing.
paper.
That's it?
That's pretty much it.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's.
Thank you, Dennis.
Welcome.
Congratulations or condolences, whatever it is.
I guess you.
Well, I'm talking to the chief of police here, so maybe it's good we don't run into each other.
We just don't wanna meet by accident.
That's right. That's right.
We don't wanna meet by accident.
Material's better now. But we're gonna have to go.
Oh.
Come on, let's go to our concert.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, tonight.
Well, summer nights, baby. I gotta change the name of that thing, warm summer nights, I'm tired of these cold evenings. Yeah.
Huh?
We would be buying them.
Oh, okay, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
For the kids, county inspected by the fire.
Love some assistance on identifying where we need them.
When we get that,
What
that
we
would be
need.
nice.
Cause I actually, yesterday Valerie from the court,
Oh, they did?
called me and asked me to get a clear picture of one of the signs. I guess they were gonna be having
I wonder if it was that
court
same,
on a
the
parking issue.
Bob, is that his name?
Was it
Yeah,
outside the
property up there.
No, it was up by the ski area. And,
Yeah.
but anyway,
wants to get
I
some
realized that,
Workforce housing out of it.
you know,
That's the-
walking downhill, it says, you know, stay on the sidewalks essentially, and on the uphill, it says no
Yeah.
parking. You're gonna be on village roads,
Yeah, I think
street,
what-
and so they're back to back, but this one happened to have the no parking.
Yeah.
part missing.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, things like that, but yeah, we can get all the signs. and-
As I get settled in,
Sorry.
I make observations
He's
as
the
well.
guy out there,
That's not just-
it was
maybe we
60
need to
units
put
that
one
would be
here,
workforce
have
housing. The
some-
first
I'll
15 years would
coordinate
be
with
rental.
you.
Absolutely.
Let you know my
Yeah,
observations.
this is basic, this is the
I
requirement.
can't
based on
think
the
of the
grant. And then after 15 years, then whoever's a resident will do a lease purchase for 15, you know, a 15-year lease purchase.
Intersection with the highway.
Yeah, yeah, so.
Now, the stop signs
So
are
that's good.
434.
Good.
And I saw they got one of them.
At this time, I would ask for a motion to return from executive session for NMSA 10-15-18-2.
I make a motion to return from executive session for NMSA 10-15-1H-2. Department of Workforce Solutions Discrimination Investigation.
Second.
Voting on agenda item M, Mr. Howe,
Aye.
Mr. Humbert,
Aye.
Mr. Weeks.
Aye.
Pass.
At this time, I'd like to ask Manager Weir if he'd like to add anything in his manager's report.
Well, I was going to introduce you guys to our code enforcement officer that we just hired. He was here earlier. Is he in his office? Anyhow, we did hire a new code enforcement officer, Mr. Joel Legg. He had previously been our code enforcement officer. He's come back to work for us, and since we do not have a P and Z director, Chief Hobrook has agreed to take him under his wing. So I guess we'll be co-managing, I don't know, but I want to thank the chief because he really has, you know, he's got him a radio and other things. And I know that Joel has communicated to me that the relationship with the police force was a major decision in him leaving, and he feels really good about it this time. So he's not here, but I want you guys to welcome Joel to the team. He's already issued a few citations, but he's only been here a week. He also saved us some money because he already had uniforms.
And we couldn't hand him out to anybody else because he's 7 feet tall.
Yeah. You know, one thing that we've had conversations with the chief, and one thing we want to do is make sure we don't want Joel to be, even though he's reporting, kind of a dotted line reporting to the chief. We don't want people to think he's a police officer. He's not a police officer. So we're looking at things like different colored uniforms, to make sure he's distinguishable. And, but he will, you know, there are some things we want to do to protect him, like body cameras. And, maybe even vest if he feels the necessity. Just because, you know, sometimes seeing a code enforcement officer can be a contentious situation. And so we want to protect him. Our employee safety is paramount to us. Also, I want to thank Dennis. You know, Dennis took on a job. He had a 1-day training from the previous clerk. And it was during a time where I was under a lot of pressure, and Dennis did take on a lot of things on his own. I never figured out the whole TV thing. He figured out how to get that working. And he, you know, having never worked in public office or for the government before, and there's a lot to learn. There's a lot different than the corporate world. So I think Dennis did a good job, and Dennis, thank you also for working so closely with Rocky to make sure we have a smooth transition this time into clerk, because the last 2 transitions, maybe 3, have not been smooth, and it does cause a lot of problems and a lot of issues when you don't have a smooth transition. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Manager Weir, and thank you, Village of Angel Fire.
I do also want to remind the council that on the 16th, we will have a work session. There will be three items on that, in that work session to discuss. I think y'all received notice of those items, but one in particular that's a relatively new item that I was working with Chief Ogriff on is how to properly compensate people who work on holidays. And it is done differently throughout the state. I think that our current code needs some adjustment in that area. And so we're going to present that as a discussion item and hopefully get some direction from the council on how to do that. And in addition, we're going to talk about the lodger's tax. What has been presented as adjustments to the lodger's tax ordinance versus a separate short-term rental ordinance. Most communities have adopted a separate short-term rental ordinance as opposed to amending the lodger's tax. I did ask the lodger's tax committee to be the committee in charge of developing this because basically it affects them significantly. Short-term rentals, of course, is what brings in the lodger's tax revenue. So there's going to be a lot to discuss in that area, and I don't see it happening quick. Again, we are, as you guys know, we're in between lawyers right now. Our previous legal counsel's contract expired on June 30th. And so we hope that at the 23rd meeting to have a new lawyer appointed at that time. And I will want this to go, any ordinances to go to legal counsel before they're actually put to a vote before council. So we have some time to have those discussions and figure out what we want to do there. I also want to congratulate Chief Ogriff in his recruitment efforts. You know, we have one open position in the police force. We had 5 applicants, I believe. 6 applicants since Chief Ogriff has taken his position. We hope to have that staffed within a few weeks, maybe a month. And to my knowledge, it'll be the first time we've been fully staffed at the police department in, I don't know, years.
I think, yeah.
So I think that's good for you to know. Like I said previously, we are going out to RFP for legal counsel. We had 3 applicants that today was the due date. We had 3 different firms, submit applications for that, proposals. And, we have a committee, that will be evaluating that next week. And then, the results of those committee findings will be presented to the council on the 23rd. Today we had a meeting, after meeting to discuss the 4th of July, the Balloons Fiesta, and the events that have occurred in tourism so far. And basically in summation, the result of those meetings is that we need to put together better parking facilities for all of our events. I think parking was the major issue that we faced with the events. So we've talked about a lot of different alternatives. Some of them maybe even changing venues in some of the events to areas that would better accommodate large numbers of parking. We do need more volunteers. We're gonna have to work on developing volunteers for these events. And when I say volunteers, that could be employees. And a lot of people equate a volunteer with someone that's not getting paid, that's doing it for free. As you know, if an employee works at a village event, we have to pay them in accordance with the Fair Labor Standard Act. But they'd still be volunteering to get paid to do the work. So those are things, and then just better planning. I think a lot of this, I think our tourism director did a fantastic job. I mean, everything's had record turnouts. If y'all recall the Balloon Fiesta, I think the highest car count we had previous years was 420, and this year it was approximately 700. So close to doubling the number. That's a direct result of what the tourism director had done in the marketing area. And so I think that all those things are coming together, and we need to start looking bigger, because I think with the money we have to spend, by the way, the mayor spoke earlier, we're still not spending lodgers tax money quick enough. And did I tell you? I think I did.
Yes, we do there in the hearing that the auditors suggest we take on debt.
Well, we take on debt. Basically, we have to spend that money. We started off the quarter with 2.3 million in revenue, or in cash, in lodgers tax. At the end of the quarter, it was 2.8 million. And in that interim, even though we had the contract with Caristo and we were trying to spend money, in that period, we were only able to spend $326,000. So the contract was for 1.1 million, and I was on Greg, push more, we gotta get this out of here. And he was pushing, but still, we've gotta think of new ways to spend that money. Because like I said, we had an audit finding in FY 22 and an audit finding in FY 23 for excessive lodgers tax funds.
On that note too, I'll point out that it just came to light that there was not an RFP put out for advertising or marketing the last 2 fiscal years. We just got that audit finding as they wrapped up 2023. Had we known that, that would have also influenced some decisions being made, and they did see the fact is that the money was spent, but without RFPs.
So there's actually 2 pieces to that. It was the opinion of the prior chief procurement officer that the advertising exemption applied to all advertising, all aspects of advertising. And so not only were there not proper RFPs done for other advertising work in FY 22 or 23. In fact, the invoices we received for advertising were not required to go through standard procurement procedures in issuing a PO. And they were paid out of separate batches of invoices. So we call them packets. And, they were segregated and paid without POs, whereas everything else requires a PO. We're getting an audit finding for that. As of, learning that from the auditor, I changed that policy. Now everything that we have to purchase will have a PO issued for it, which is the proper way to do it. So anyhow, this is a audit finding that, came out of the 23 audit. And again, I think, had that audit been done on a timely basis and that finding be presented, because keep in mind that when they do a 23 audit, they're just looking at the data from from July 1 of 22 to June 30th of 23. That's all the data they looked at. And from that data, they issued this finding. Had that finding been out there, then again, our actions may very well been different. We are having a meeting on the 17th next week to kick off the replacement of the meters. Kurt, I don't know if you have anything in addition you want to say to that, but it is later than we wanted. There were some challenges, been some challenges in acquisition of some of the parts, not necessarily the meters. As you know, you already know about the, what do they call the things that they're held in? The cans. So the cans, there's been some challenges there, and there's also been some challenges in the acquisition of the PRC valves that are required here in Angel Fire because of the high levels of pressure we have in a lot of our lines. But we are having a kickoff meeting on the 17th, and so we still hope to get a large percentage of the meters switched out this summer and fall.
I did have one thing to add to that, if I may. I spoke with Manager Weir about this, and a lot of this comes from previous experience with construction projects, and I apologize, it's something that I didn't bring up from the get-go on this. But I'm gonna discuss it in the meeting on the 17th. Well, one thing we didn't really build into this whole process is any kind of contingency. And been up in these mountains enough to know that there's gonna be some things, even though we thought we've considered everything, we're gonna have some surprises. So as opposed to every time we get one of these surprises coming back to council to get approval for a change order, I want to discuss the possibility of and with discussion with the contractors of the benefit of coming up with a contingency number. Just so we can be covered for any unforeseens and not have to wait for the next council meeting on anything that would come up.
Thank you, Director. On Village Hall update, as you guys know, we're in the throes of a remodel here. There have been some challenges with this, primarily related to getting permits and getting inspections. The one thing we still have not obtained is a electrical inspection. We've had the framing inspection completed, it passed that. We were supposed to have an electrical inspection this week. Was not able to occur. I don't know if you know, but I've been informed that we don't have an electrical inspector in our district any longer. We're having to share with the local district. And there's been a backup in electrical inspections. But we are proceeding with we still hope to have it done soon. I'm working out issues with the DFA or NMFA, I should say, on the monies that we have from them for this project. It looks like we're gonna be able to utilize the majority of that money. But nonetheless, we will continue, and you'll see things like, we've already added, some
many split air conditioners.
in here for when it gets hot in the summer, to try and help, the system, and most of the walls are up that are gonna be changed. The only thing, and the electrical works put in, the only thing that's undone is there's a little bit of demo in here that needs to be done, and then the plumbing still needs to be done, and the light fixtures. All the light fixtures will be replaced. Of course, the inspection issue, they need an inspection of this before they can proceed with the cement. So that is another inspection issue, that challenge that we've been facing. And anyhow, getting those inspections and the permits has been the primary cause of this thing being slowed down. Any questions on that? We did, as the mayor said previously, we did submit the FY 23 audit last week. I take that back, it was Monday. We submitted it Monday to the state auditor. We had our exit interview this week. And we're hopeful that the state auditor will process that audit and approve it by the end of July is the hope. So hopefully the first meeting in August, we'll be able to present that audit to council. And as you may be aware, those of you that are experienced in this interim period, we're not allowed to, legally, we're not allowed to discuss the audit. Other than to say it's been submitted and we're hopeful that it'll be approved. We can't go into the details until it's officially approved by the state auditor. But we hope that to happen soon. Also, I got word today. So when you start an audit, the first thing you have to do is submit to the state auditor's office your contract, your agreement with your auditor. And they have to approve that before you can begin the work. That was approved today for the FY 24 audit. As I said, you know, I told my staff, and I hope I'm not proven wrong, but I said I've never submitted an audit late, and we're not going to start now. So we have a lot of work to do. Even though we got done with the 23 audit, in that process, we found, I mean, you know, I would say dozens, trying not to exaggerate, of issues in our finances, that things that either weren't done or were done wrong. We did, for example, we had to have a single audit, which is a type of audit when you have federal funds. Unfortunately, in the prior year, a single audit was not conducted. We didn't discover that until we were in the throes of this audit. And it was required. So there's a lot of things we're trying to fix right now. The finance staff has been heads down trying to fix those things. But the FY 24 audit is, you know, hopefully will be better than the 23, but it's still going to be rough. Just want to set your expectations. But hopefully the FY 25 audit will come put us back in positive light. And that's all I have for the council. I stand for any questions.
No more questions. This meeting is adjourned.